Reading some breaking news today, and a supposed deal has been tabled or agreed to. It's not formal yet, but Hughes and Grant to the Melbourne Storm. Can you talk us through that?
Well, it sounds imminent on both counts, Braith. I mean, they've been locked in talks with these guys for quite a while. They're both contracted at the end of 2023. The Dolphins were circling both those guys, Harry Grant and Jerome Hughes. And it looks like Grant will be an additional 3 years, so the end of 26. Jerome Hughes end of 27, and we're talking big dollars. I mean, this is multi-million dollar stuff. You know, both those guys are going to nudge the $1 million a year barrier. So huge offers for both those guys, but keeping both those guys in the face of offers from the Dolphins or interest from the Dolphins, I mean, it's massive for Melbourne moving forward.
Great sign.
I mean, Jerome
both
Hughes,
of these players in career best form and
with their best football ahead of them.
That's right.
And well, they got a new big three, and it's those two and Cameron Munster. Who
will throw Pappenhausen in. It's a
as
big four, really.
No, it's exciting times for them. They've got to be happy with this, haven't they?
Well, they will once they get the signatures on the contracts. Look, it's been a big day. Obviously, the other part to it is we're all trying to read into this what this does with Craig Bellamy. Does this mean Craig Bellamy is more likely now to stay on as head coach, or is it more likely that he might move on as head coach? Because part of the thinking is, well, they're in such a rush to get everybody to sign, because if Bellamy actually come the end of this month, which is only next week now, says I won't be staying on as head coach for 2023, then they don't want the
the players don't know themselves, so it's a big leap of faith from these two to take the deal.
That is so unusual. You talk to players all the time; they're in contract negotiations, and it's why some clubs rush through coach appointments before they should, is nearly every player wants to know who's in charge of the football side. Now, I find it hard to believe that these guys who have signed or agreed today haven't been tipped off in some way that Craig is likely to be there. He is the magnet of the NRL to sign players.
You know what I think you're overlooking, though? The genuine honesty that exists within the club. So Craig Bellamy sits down, and every time you ask somebody around the club what's happening, they don't know the answer. And even when you get Craig on the phone, you say, "Listen, what's happening?" He's in and out. He really doesn't know where he's at. And it's not where you see this in the past is clubs start playing games with players. They tell them what they think they want to know. They don't tell them the truth about what's happening in coaching situations. Melbourne have just been quite upfront and said, "We don't know. You don't know. Craig doesn't know yet. Craig's got to make a decision. Craig's got a March 31 deadline." By the same token, the club has already indicated they're prepared to let Craig take longer if he needs to make that decision. How long that will be, again, we don't know. But I think the fact that everybody is just completely transparent in where they're currently at is helping the players say, well, Craig's not playing head games with us.
I think the other thing you've got to remember too is he's got a 5-year contract. If he's not the head coach, he will be there in some capacity. So if the head coach is Mark Brenton or Jason Riles, Billy Slater, Craig will be there to work alongside him in some capacity.
The other part to that too, Reed, is the fact that whoever does take over from Craig, once he finally does go, the Storm have pretty much indicated that it's got to be more than likely someone internal. So that means that someone the players have already had exposure to, somebody they're already comfortable with, somebody that they're confident in of being able to do the job, whether that's Bellamy's son, whether that's bringing back a Jason Riles, whether there's young Brentnell there.
I know that they're big fans of Brentnell and Riles.
And the players are.
They are.
Yeah.
Look, I tell you, this used to be so big in the game. I reckon up to 10% of players had clauses in their contract that a certain person had to be coach, otherwise they had their get-out clause.
I think that's also bad management to allow that in your contract.
Well, sometimes to get these big deals over the line, Kenny, it might be that 1% of the
But Buzz, that's because you blinked first. That's why you put that clause in, because you know what happens then? Because if I'm the coach and I know that you have got clauses in your contract that if I go, you go, you can use that as leverage against the club and vice versa.
Sure.
And that's an issue within the... Of course it has, but it's never really ended well either.
No. I think Melbourne's too smart to do that. I think Matt Tripp's too smart to be putting coach clauses in.
No, he's a smooth operator, Matty Tripp. I know that for sure.
Now, the other deadline today, Braith, was Cameron Munster, who obviously you're managing.
Yeah.
So we've heard that Hughes,
Yep.
and Grant are both
Supposedly. Supposedly.
likely to stay.
Yeah, the deadline's,
Munster?
the deadline's been extended. Cameron to stay, you got to understand, he's not off contract till the end of next year. So there's no real hurry for Cameron to sign anything. If he does stay, he'll have to take a big pay cut. So that's for him to decide. That's for us to decide in the short term. But we won't be hurrying into anything. I mean, he's in a great headspace at the moment. Physically and mentally, he's in the best he's ever felt. We don't want to.
Have you spoken to the Dolphins?
No. But I've heard noise that there's interest there, and why wouldn't there be?
Well, that's the other issue now. Is that the Dolphins, having now missed Harry Grant and Jerome Hughes, they're actually going to sit down and because we've got to start going through who else they've missed and where they're going to go with all this. Because they came in a little. Here we go.
Dolphin flippers.
Dolphin flippers. But these are the guys that they've all missed out on. These are guys, and let's remember, Wayne Bennett came in and with a very clear intent to sign a marquee player. Now, once they start getting rid of a few of those guys, you've only got really absolute standout marquees. You've got Cameron Munster and you've got Kalen Ponga.
Yep.
I'd add a couple to that. I'd add Cherry Evans, who's coming up.
You think
at Manly.
you think he's any chance of leaving Manly?
I think he's about to extend it, Manly.
Yeah,
I spoke to Steve a couple of weeks
you
ago.
said about to, but will be available around that time. And the other guy, while he's young, long term, they're not trying to win a comp in 23, is Reece Walsh.
They're trying to build something in 23, that Buzz.
And that's why they got the Bromwich brothers and Kafusi.
Bennett has said multiple times how important it is for the Dolphins to be competitive first year and then beyond that to very quickly put themselves in a position where they can start contending for premierships. Now, Reece Walsh, talented as he is still 2 or 3 years minimum from being a player who's got to lead a club. For all his talent, he's still some time away from that. I don't know if Bennett's got that long. He's got a 3-year deal up there.
Do you think Wayne's
he's got 2 more years
Will he be worried
after
at the
this
moment
year.
with missing all these players? Is it penny stations yet, or he's...
You know what I reckon happens now is when the Dolphins first came in and there was all these players and they had till 2023 to start playing, they had a bit of a let's just cherry pick here who we want, but then they lose Brandon Smith, then they lose Jerome Hughes, then they lose Harry Grant. So suddenly these players are getting picked off and staying at their clubs. So the balance of power is shifting from the Dolphins being able to pick who they want and identify who they want and go after them at their volition to suddenly, for absolute standout marquee players, you've only got 2 left.
There's only 2.
They're going to hold their nerve, otherwise they'll get themselves in real
Ponga's
trouble,
off this
won't they?
year.
Ponga's off this year and has to...
Munster's not off till the end of next year.
June 1
June
has
one
to make a decision by.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that a lot will depend on that. On what
Well, that's huge,
Kalen
right?
does,
Because
right?
Kalen's, you're talking, if they're going to get Kalen out of Newcastle, we're talking with 1.2, 1.3 minimum, I would have thought, to get him out of Newcastle. So if you throw all that money at Cam Munster, then you've almost got to push Kalen Ponga to the side.
Newcastle's start to the season is a huge positive for Ponga. A huge positive. He said early in the year he wants to play in a big dance one day. Grand final. I'm saying they won't play grand, but geez, they've been good. They've been strong. And big game again this weekend. So
On the flip side, though, you could say, is he now as valuable to Newcastle as he was last year? When if he didn't play, they essentially won't have any chance of winning. Whereas if his performance,
he's still very important. He still is valuable. And he'll get better as this year goes on. Now he's got the team around him performing, he's going to be even more dangerous now